In a world obsessed with IQ scores and trivia contests, we've misunderstood what it truly means to be smart. Real intelligence, the kind that commands a room, steers a conversation, and builds a legacy, isn't about knowing everything. It's about knowing what matters, knowing it deeply, and knowing how to use it when it counts. Steve Jobs didn't invent the phone. Elon Musk didn't invent the rocket. Warren Buffett doesn't build physical products, yet when they speak, rooms fall silent. Why? Because they've trained their minds to see what others miss. They don't just think, they outthink. The smartest person in the room isn't the one with the loudest voice. It's the one with the clearest mind. So how do you become that person? Let's go there. Most people treat their minds like storage units, cramming them with random facts, quotes, and borrowed opinions. But real intelligence isn't about how much you remember. It's about how well you organize what you know. The smartest minds don't just collect knowledge, they connect it. Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's right hand, called this a latticework of mental models. These are ways of thinking, tools that help you break down problems, see hidden patterns, and make decisions with clarity. Instead of reacting to life, you begin to design it. This approach pays dividends in the real world. For instance, when faced with a piece of propaganda, most people react emotionally or parrot opinions. But someone trained in mental models dissects it layer by layer. They question the incentives behind it, spot the cognitive biases at play, apply basic logic, and trace the historical patterns that shaped it. In doing so, they begin to see through the fog. Instead of being swept up by the noise, they walk away with clarity and their own understanding of the situation. In effect, they don't just consume information. They interrogate it, reframe it, and connect it to broader truths. That's how the latticework works. You don't need to be a genius. You just need the right lenses to see the world clearly. And the more lenses you stack, the more powerful your thinking becomes. Jim Rohn used to say, "Don't just read the easy stuff. You may be entertained by it, but you will never grow from it." The smartest people are obsessed with learning, but they are ruthless with their filters. They don't read everything. They read what matters. They don't follow every trend. They study what endures. In a world drowning in content, the ability to choose what not to consume is a superpower. Smart learners seek out timeless ideas, not time-sensitive noise. They follow thinkers who challenge their assumptions, not ones who echo their beliefs. They read slowly, reflect deeply, and revisit what hits hard. True intelligence isn't just about accumulation. It's about digestion. One good idea, fully absorbed and lived out, is worth more than 100 skimmed on your phone at midnight. School taught us to move from chapter to chapter, exam to exam. But the smartest people learn in loops. They return to the same concepts, each time seeing them with sharper eyes and broader context. This layered learning deepens their understanding over time. They don't just read once, they revisit. They don't just remember, they reframe. A single book, read 5 times over 5 years, becomes 5 different teachers. Each reading meets a wiser version of themselves. Ali Abdaal, a doctor turned YouTuber with millions of followers, rereads the same book multiple times using different colored notes. Once for learning, once for application, and once for teaching. That's how layers of understanding are built, across time, not in one sitting. Average minds solve the problem in front of them. Exceptional minds question how they're thinking about the problem. That's meta-thinking, stepping outside your own mental process and improving the very system you use to think. Ray Dalio built his hedge fund, Bridgewater, into a powerhouse using a system of radical transparency and decision logs. He literally writes down why he made a decision and what he expected, then tracks the outcome. Over time, he trains himself like a pilot reviewing flight data. That's metacognition in action. It takes discipline. You have to schedule time to think about your thinking. You need the humility to audit your decisions and the curiosity to refine your system. That's how you move from reacting to responding, from instinctive to intentional, from fast to wise. In a world of noise, silence becomes power. The smartest person in the room doesn't need to speak often. They speak precisely. They've trained themselves to think before they talk, to listen longer than most, and to speak only when what they say can shift the conversation. Strategic silence does something remarkable. It draws others in. It creates presence. It gives your words weight.
Now, I know you didn't do this just to win an election. And I know you didn't do it for me. You did it because you understand the enormity of the task that lies ahead.
Barack Obama mastered this in debates. He used deliberate pauses, not just for effect, but to make people pay attention. When he paused, the room would go still. Everyone leaned in. Then he spoke, and every word landed. The less you speak, the more people notice when you do. And when you combine silence with clear thinking, your presence alone begins to shape the energy of the room. Start by pausing before you respond. Let others fill the space. Observe. Don't just react. As you build this habit, people will begin to lean in, not because you talk more, but because you've mastered the discipline to wait until your message matters. Once it's your turn to speak, clarity becomes your currency. Smart people don't ramble. They deliver impact in a sentence, a phrase, a question that pierces through the fog. They don't overwhelm with volume. They impress with precision. They use metaphor, ask sharp questions, and simplify the complex. Their words don't just inform, they provoke. They say things people remember days later. Not because they were long, but because they were right. Take Naval Ravikant, the tech philosopher whose tweets go viral. Not because they're loud, but because they're lucid. One of his most shared lines reads, "Play long-term games with long-term people." Just 7 words, yet it distills a philosophy of career, relationships, and wealth building into a single, unforgettable soundbite. It's not just memorable, it's magnetic. This isn't about being poetic, it's about being precise. Take time to refine your thoughts. Craft your sentences like a sculptor chisels marble. When your ideas become sharp, people stop what they're doing and listen. Not because you raised your voice, but because your words cut through. The smartest minds notice what others overlook. They sense the unspoken. They detect what's missing, not just what's present. Where others focus on the surface, they scan the deeper layers. They ask, what's not being said here? And what's behind this reaction? This ability comes from awareness, not magic. It's trained by watching body language, listening between the lines, and constantly asking deeper questions. Over time, they begin to sense patterns before they form. They see risk before it becomes a crisis, They detect opportunity while others are still distracted. Seeing the invisible doesn't mean being psychic. It means being present. It means being observant when others are rushing. And it turns you into someone others trust, because you notice what matters. The smartest people in the room are always playing the long game. While others chase quarterly wins or daily applause, they're planting seeds that won't bloom for years. That's why they seem calm when others panic. They've already seen how the story ends. This kind of thinking changes everything. It reshapes what you learn, how you spend your time, who you listen to. You begin to value patience over urgency, systems over sprints, and consistency over hype. You invest in skills that compound: writing, thinking, building, storytelling. You stop trying to impress in the short term, and you start trying to win in the long term. Warren Buffett understood this better than most. While others frantically chased hot stocks and fast profits, he quietly built Berkshire Hathaway into one of the world's most valuable companies. Not by gambling on trends, but by letting compound interest do what it does best: reward time. His most profitable moves were often invisible for decades. No applause, just accumulation. Operating on a long game clock rewires your relationship with time. You stop measuring days and start measuring decades. You become the kind of person who endures, who outlasts, who compounds quietly, until one day you're the only one still standing. No one becomes brilliant alone. Intelligence doesn't just live inside you. It grows in the rooms you enter, the books you read, and the conversations you allow. The smartest people design environments that make thinking inevitable. They surround themselves with challengers, not cheerleaders. They walk into rooms where they feel small, because that's where growth hides. They read people who shake their beliefs, not stroke their egos. And they ask better questions, because the quality of your thinking is shaped by the quality of your curiosity. When Dropbox co-founder Drew Houston was asked how he learned to lead, he said, "I surrounded myself with people way smarter than me, and I tried to earn my seat at the table every day." Growth isn't always comfortable, but it's always upward. If you want to level up your thinking, start by changing your environment. Take courses where you feel underprepared. Debate with sharper minds. Because if you're always the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Becoming the smartest person in the room isn't about arrogance. It's about responsibility. You don't aim to dominate the conversation. You aim to elevate it. You don't chase recognition. You pursue refinement. Stay sharp, stay curious. Keep your mind like a blade, polished, honed, always improving. And when you walk into a room, don't try to impress. Just observe, think, reflect. Then speak with purpose. In a noisy world, that's the loudest kind of intelligence there is. When you think clearly, you don't have to shout to be heard. Don't aim to be impressive. Aim to be irreplaceable.